Today is simple starter build for Legacy of Frisia. It's Power Siphon Surfcaster. Video has time codes so can skip to whatever part you need. Those who played PoE 1 already know what Power Siphon is and what to expect from it, so it's mostly for new PoE player that played only PoE 2. It will be very similar to Trickster, except Surfcaster will be slightly faster. This build can be played as your main build, but for me this build will be just way to get to level 90, and farm currency for different build I will spec into. And now to guide, first about build itself. First, what is Power Siphon? Power Siphon is wand attack that automatically target up to 7 nearby enemies. While this is attack skill, spell damage does increase attack damage of this skill at 150% of its value. So for example, 20% increased spell damage will be same as 30% increased attack damage. Also, it does scale a lot with power charges, providing massive 10% more critical strike chance and 30% critical damage per power charge, making it very easy to reach 100% critical strike chance on this skill. You can play this skill by attacking normally, but you also can use it as mine skill. Mines are fairly simple. You throw them, then you detonate them. So that's basically what this build is. You throw mines, they kill mobs. Now before we dive into skills and supports, if you're new PoE 2 player, you have to know how skills and supports work in PoE 1. In PoE 1, skills and supports are socketed into gear sockets, so normally you can have 1 6-link in body armor, or 2 if you use two-handed weapon. Helmets, gloves, and boots have up to 4 sockets. Shields and one-handed weapons have 3 sockets. Aside of having sockets, those sockets also have to be linked, so socketed supports will work with socketed skills. That's basically how skills and supports work in PoE 1. Now back to build, starting with skills and supports. First of all, this PoB has skills and supports for each act. Skills and supports, I'm showing what build use after campaign. So follow it as you progress. Power Siphon supports. First is Locust Mine. It transforms Power Siphon from normal attack to mine skill. So you throw 3 mines at once, and then they do damage. One thing to know about Locust Mine is that mines will not detonate if they too close to you, so have to throw them at distance. Next is Charged Mines. It basically power and frenzy charge generation of this build. Charges in PoE 1 provide buffs just for having those charges, while this support also provide bonuses for having charges on top of base bonuses provided by those charges. Next is Volatility, that make bottom damage of skill lower, but top damage higher. Since lightning damage already have big damage spread, downside of this support is basically can be ignored. Next is added lightning damage, that simply adds more flat lightning damage, and last is elemental damage with attacks that simply grant more damage. Next is automation, detonate mines, and immortal call. Normally, you have to detonate mines manually, but with automation mines detonate automatically, so less buttons pressing. Immortal Call is one of guard skills that temporarily increase your survivability, also will be used automatically. Next is Sniper's Mark, Flame Wall, and Arcanist Brand. Sniper's Mark simply cause marked enemy to take more damage. Flame Wall works same as in PoE 2, it adds fire damage to projectiles passing it, and Arcanist Brand is basically way to use both Sniper's Mark and Flame Wall with one button. It only needed on bosses or some tanky rare mobs. Next are Auras, Wrath that grant added lightning damage, Grace that grant more evasion, Precision that grant accuracy and critical strike chance. And lastly, Frostblink, that is our movement skill. That's what build use after campaign. Once again, in PoB, you can find skills and supports for each act. Now to tree, in PoB you also can find trees for acts, so follow them as you progress. We'll point some stuff, since even if you're new PoE 2 player, you know how tree works. First about spell suppression, since it's one of things that PoE 2 doesn't have. Normally spell suppression prevent 50% of spell damage, so when you reach 100% spell suppression chance, it will make you twice as tanky against all spell damage. This build reaches 100% spell suppression chance fairly easy, just tree and one mod on item. First is Evasion Mastery. Masteries are like special passives you can spend points on after you allocated big passive in branch. So this Evasion Mastery grants 15% chance to suppress spell damage if all armor has evasion, which is important part. Next is Reflexes, and all small passives around it that grant spell suppression, and Inveterate, which is another spell suppression branch. So in total, you get 88% spell suppression chance from tree, as long as all your armor has evasion, and remaining 12% will come from gear. Suppression is suffix, and can be rolled on all armor and shields that have evasion, either if it's pure evasion armor, or hybrid evasion with armor or energy shield. In this build, easiest or rather cheapest will be getting those 12% on shield, while 12% can be rolled on any other piece of armor. If you happen to have more than 12%, you can drop small passives next to reflex, as long as you will have at least 100% spell suppression. Rest of tree is fairly simple: damage, power charges, and life. Also, one thing about life is life mastery. This mastery grants 15% increased life if body armor has no life modifier, so make sure it doesn't have any. And last thing is reservation. In PoE 1, we use mana to reserve auras. So in this build, we take reservation efficiency passives to fit more auras, which is charisma and mana mastery. About Ascendancy, first is Ghost of the Deep, which will greatly increase move speed during campaign. Second is Sea Legs to get extra resists, then Stormy Seas and Glacial Wave. That's all for tree. First about gear for this build, then about gear-related stuff. Wand should at very least have lightning damage, which you can get with Essence of Wrath. Essences in PoE 1 work differently. Instead of adding one mod, they reroll whole rare item with random modifiers, plus guaranteed modifier from that essence. So it means you can use Wrath Essence multiple times until you hit good mods. Second best mod is Spell Damage, which increased damage of Power Siphon at 150% of its value, so 80% increased spell damage become 120% increased damage for Power Siphon. And next you see White Colored mod, which is Crafted mod. In PoE 1, we have Crafting Bench, where we can craft modifiers on rare gear. So in this case, it's Mind Throwing Speed. For other mods, more flat damage, either cold or fire, or critical strike multiplier. Shield with at least 12% spell suppression. Can be either evasion or evasion with energy shield, with life and resists. If shield will have empty suffix, you can craft resists on it. Same for armor. Body armor must be evasion with energy shield. Other armor can be pure evasion as well. For modifiers, life and resists. Rings with life and resists. Amulet with some strength and intelligence. Life and any damage, spell damage, critical damage, or both. Anything extra like resist also good. Belt, preferably heavy belt, that has strength implicit with life and resists. And now about some stuff related to gear. In this example, I have crafted Elemental and Chaos Resistance on most of gear to cap Chaos Resistance. This crafted Elemental plus Chaos Resistance modifier is unlocked from one of mechanics called Betrayal. Basically, in maps you will encounter Immortal Syndicate that will drop veiled items. Veiled items are items that have one unknown modifier, which you unveil with Jun. Once unveiled, that modifier become available at Crafting Bench. And second thing is that you see that some gear has implicit modifiers. This is more like late game thing. As you progress, you will start running maps with Eater of Worlds or Searing Exarch influence. Then you will drop special currency from those maps that allow you to add or reroll implicits on gear. This can be done only with armor. Any rare armor can have one Eater of Worlds and one Searing Exarch implicit. Each item has multiple good modifiers that work for this build, but I will point at what are better. For Helmet, it's reduced mana cost and spell damage. For body armor, it's critical strike damage and Wrath Aura effect. For gloves, it's cold exposure and mind-throwing speed, and for boots, it's just action speed. Action speed is multiplier to any speed-related stuff. For jewels, just spell damage, or anything extra like critical strike damage, lightning or cold damage, or increased life. Now about flasks, in PoE 1 we have 5 flask slots, and aside of life and mana flasks we have utility flasks. In this build it's 4 utility flasks, Stibnite that grant more evasion, Jade that grant flat evasion, Quicksilver that grant move speed, and Silver that grant onslaught, which is buff, that provide even more move speed. Early it will be piano, so you will likely just use Quicksilver Flask for movement speed. But later you could enchant flasks on crafting bench to make them kind of automatic. In this build, flasks are enchanted in a way that they will be used once they reach full charges. So that's the build. Now check some showcase, but note that it's Trickster, while Surfcaster will look more or less same.